Hello there, everybody. This might be my last video for today. And then Logan Paul's biggest scam. So you guys see part one. You guys
For
see
the
part
last
two.
6 months, I've been working.
I didn't even press play. You guys see part one. You guys see part two. Now this is the last and finale. Let's see what happened
On my own NFT project.
We've put hundreds of thousands of dollars in it. Personally, the whole team, $1 million plus.
We had an issue with CryptoZoo where our lead developer took the code that he made, fled to Switzerland, actually fled to Switzerland and like held it hostage for $1 million.
He literally never paid me anything at all, ever. Eddie promised me, 5% of the tokens and $1 million. He literally never paid me.
This reporter says Eddie's entire story is fake.
The biggest reason it failed, in my opinion.
Doug, I'm not the bad guy here.
Yeah.
There's some actual out there.
Yeah.
And it's not me. Like, I'm here to build.
Welcome to part 3. So
The
far,
king
we've
of
discovered
cryptos.
fake orphans,
Ooh.
millions of dollars stolen, and a cast of sleazy characters. But now, it's time to put it all together. What is the truth? And who's to blame? We're going to start by going through leaked text messages of the CryptoZoo team to understand all of their motivation. Then we'll go to blockchain evidence and show who sold what. And finally, we'll confront some of the people responsible. But before we can do any of that, we have to start in March of...
Damn, hold on. I'll be right back. It'll be like really fast. I gotta get water, or while I talk, my throat is going dry and I can't have it. Okay, I'm back.
Of 2021, 6 months before the token even launched. Our 4 suspects, Logan, Crypto King, Eddie, and Jeff, are in a group chat discussing CryptoZoo, which starts as a copy of something else. Quote, I like imitating crypto kitties, Jake the Crypto King says. Logan replies, I agree. And initially, it wasn't called CryptoZoo at all. It was called Crypto Pets, and they were gonna sell a pets token. And pretty early on, it became clear this was all about money, how they were gonna sell this thing to investors. In fact, Crypto King said he thought it was worth at least $20 million in only 6 months, saying the range is insane. $20 to $210 million. It's beautiful wherever we land. Eddie jumped in at this point and talked about how he could sell the project as an investment to a friend, Matt Higgins, saying, quote, he has to spend that $350 million somewhere. Why not us? And Logan says, I love that idea. Crypto King, I'm in. And of course, you have Jeff saying, let's go. So you can see right there, they wanted to sell this game before it had even launched. Now later, Eddie amends the list of investors and says, quote, investors will be Gary Vee, Todd Morley, James Altucher, Ryan Kavanaugh, and others, confirmed on my end. Supposedly, they had $100 million of investment interest. Now, I actually went to some of these investors and asked if this was true, and the one person who responded denied it, Ryan Kavanaugh. Quote, nope, not even a little bit. So this looks like it could be yet another lie from Eddie Ibanez, but either way, it looks like there was more issues than just finding investors because the team wanted to pre-sell tokens, and not everyone was sure it would be legal. Jake the Crypto King mentions that, quote, if we have a pre-sale, it opens us up to SEC issues. And Jeff agrees and says, don't want to do anything that brings the SEC eyeballs. Now, not everyone wanted to be so cautious, though. Logan argues everyone does pre-sale with coins. Eddie agrees. He says, you absolutely can do it. I have the SEC down, private and pre-sale. And honestly, it was quite the dilemma for this team who wanted money. Do a pre-sale, make millions, but you have these potential legal issues. Don't do it, you make less money. So Crypto King comes up with a middle solution. He says, if we can't sell, no pre-sale. We can still trade them in the liquidity pool. And this is the start of a new disaster, which takes a bit of explaining. Now, just so we're clear, a pre-sale is where you sell investors coins, usually at a discount, before you've launched. And then when you launch, you give them those coins. Now, like I said, the team didn't want to do that. So what they did instead was they bought the tokens on the open market right after launch. But they tried to get clever with it because they didn't actually announce that they were launching this coin at all. They stealth launched it on June 11th and didn't announce this token through Logan until August 18th, meaning they had all that time to silently buy up as much of the supply at a steep discount as they wanted. And the idea here was that doing this, the team could get these tokens extremely cheaply, which is kind of like a pre-sale, but without all the SEC
and
troubles.
then maybe sell it out.
Crypto King makes this clear on June 7th when he says, quote, launch of the liquidity pool is where huge money will be made because
how did he get these texts though?
And then says, we, the team, begin buying out the liquidity pool. Once the team has exhausted funds for the liquidity pool buying, we send the contract address to friends, family, investors who want to be able to get in. So obviously the plan is we buy first, then we give it to our close friends and family, and then maybe the public eventually, right? And even the day before, Crypto King reminds everyone, quote, Zoo Day is tomorrow. I highly recommend everyone get a few $100 to a few $1,000s in Zoo when it goes live. It will likely 10 to 1,000x. So that was their plan. Rather than doing a pre-sale, they were going to do this stealth launch and hopefully get tokens cheaply the same way, but without all the legal troubles. Or at least that was the plan. Because on stealth launch day, this is where things first started to go wrong for the team. At first, everything seemed to go normal. The team sat in a circle and literally bought it out as planned. But the next day, Crypto King says something odd.
What do you say?
A bot is playing with our token. Kind of cool to watch them work. But he doesn't mention who this bot is. And he also says the asshole finished selling, but doesn't mention who that is. Now, Jeff, Logan's manager, replies upset. He says, how do we prevent someone doing what they just did again? We went from a $130 million to $26 million market cap in 2 hours. It's not cool to watch. Logan jumps in. Yeah, wait, how did that happen? And he also says, what asshole? How did anyone get this token except for us and none of us sold? And I think actually this is incredibly suspicious because the implication of what Logan's saying is, hey, we tried to scheme this really well. We tried to all buy this without letting anyone know. How did anyone else figure out we were buying it, right? And this is where a fight ensues that's going to become really interesting. Crypto King deflects the question by saying, my buyer pushed it back up to $40 million. And Logan says, no, bro, F your buyer. Explain to me what just happened and how there were 30 token holders. And Jake tries to explain that this was just traders and bots happening to find the token. But Logan says only 5 of us knew about it. Jake says, well,
I mean, anybody could just look it up. Even if only 5 of you guys knew about it, anybody could find it anytime, even if it was secretly released.
Many people chase volume and new tokens. And to some extent, he's kind of right. But Logan replies, cap. He doesn't believe it. Quote, I can't be the only one who thinks that's too incredibly convenient. Like someone was tipped off. And
like when I do investments, right? But I got one on Shiba, like $1 because I'm broke. But even on that shit, I get notifications whenever something happens. So let's say I did buy into cryptos, right? And then I put $1 in there. Now I'm like, okay, then since I bought it early, I'm gonna turn on notifications on the app that I use, which is public, right? I'm gonna turn on notifications so then when anything happens, and if I want to buy more, I could buy more anytime I want to, right? Which is what I would like get emails, notifications every so often on public talking about, hey, look, your Shiba account is up or it's down or you could invest again. And I don't see how that's capped.
And look, no one's more critical of Logan than me. But as I'm reading these texts, I was kind of like agreeing. Like, yeah, it does seem too nonchalant when somebody's ruining your secret plot. You know what I mean? Because Crypto King was acting very strange. He says, we created $40 million out of thin air. This is a success. Logan replies, this nonchalance worries me. F 40 million. It was at 120 million, which again, it's all about the money with these guys. But truth be told, I did agree that Crypto King's attitude seemed strange in these texts. I mean, he's not wrong that bots are a thing. Traders are a thing. But it sounded like he didn't want anyone to look into it. So, naturally, I looked into it. And what I found surprised me, because there were bots, but there's also unusual human activity during this time. So I tracked the 5 biggest buyers of this Zoo coin. And lo and behold, this is what I found. Logan was one of the biggest buyers, which is what you'd expect. But he wasn't the biggest. In fact, two of the biggest wallets seem to be associated with Crypto King himself.
Oh, shit.
And here's where I paused. I said, wait a second. Why did this guy buy more Zoo tokens than Logan when this is mostly Logan's project? I thought Crypto King was a small part of this team. And so to get more info on this, I actually got access to an internal meeting note from the day of June 11th, which they called Zoo Day. And in it, we find actually some interesting information. We see that 5 founders bought in. They apparently were, quote, trading in circles until each person maxed out. But on the list of buyers and how much they spent are only 4 people, when we know 5 people bought. We have Danny, Logan's assistant, for 20K, Logan Paul for 100K, Jeff at 100K, and Eddie at 100K, but Crypto King is nowhere to be found. And yet, on the blockchain, I have him putting in $200,000 worth. And this number, by the way, seemingly is confirmed in a conversation I had with Crypto King, where he said, my 200K investment. And the reason this is important is because it does imply that something shady was going on the day of the stealth launch. Because Crypto King had a relatively small role in this whole project. He was the advisor, but it wasn't that big of a deal. Like you can see from the internal meeting notes, they have a breakdown of who's getting what in terms of founder tokens. And like Logan Paul's getting 51%, Eddie's getting 30%, Jeff's getting 10%. Jake's only getting 5% of tokens, but he has the most of these like stealth launch tokens, which makes no sense. And it got me thinking that maybe what explains this suspicious behavior around like, oh, don't worry about who was buying at the time of the launch. Maybe that's explained because perhaps no one knew that he was buying up large parts of the token supply. Maybe he was buying it to sell later. Now, of course, that's speculation. So that's why I confronted Crypto King on all of this. But before we get to that call, let's address the elephant in the room. Logan didn't accuse Crypto King of being a scam. It was the other way around. Crypto King told Logan Paul he was a scammer. And the question is why? Well, to answer that, we have to go from June, the stealth launch date, to September 1st, the official launch date of CryptoZoo.
September 1st, CryptoZoo.co.
Now, the day of the launch was a bit strange because you might think, well, they already have a token, right? But the first thing they did was actually create a new Zoo token with a different code, but the same name. And they actually airdropped all the holders of the first Zoo token with an identical amount of those coins on the second Zoo token. So you might be wondering, why did they do that? Well, maybe it's to change the smart contract, but maybe it's because of what they did do. They blacklisted some of the holders. In other words, they didn't airdrop to everyone, including Jake, the Crypto King. They excluded his wallets so it couldn't get these Zoo coins. Jake texts the group about this the next day.
Zoo team made a major error this weekend. They chose to not communicate with the community, mint a new token and airdrop it to whatever wallets they determined fit. This decision came from Eddie and Logan. I had no part in it. 11,250 wallets before the airdrop, under 11K after they chose to blacklist and ban over 20 wallets. So people who bought it in the first one didn't get it?
Saying, quote, the Zoo team made a major error this weekend.
Wait, hold on. I'm trying to understand. So because of what the Crypto King did, they decided, you know what, we're going to blacklist him so that he can't buy anymore. And then make a second coin so that we're going to drop it so then all people, or this is the other thing. The company is actually pretty big, right? And then they had Logan, his manager, and those other 2 people who I forgot without the Crypto King, who secretly bought it up before it officially dropped, right? So because they bought it up before it officially dropped, they blacklisted a bunch of people who would have knew it dropped or who would have bought it because hold on. I'm starting to confuse myself. No, I am, but I'm not. They blacklisted a bunch of people in the company so then these 4 people could buy most of this shit back. But then because they blacklisted a bunch of people and they couldn't unblacklist them somehow, they made a V2 so then the people who were blacklisted and couldn't buy before or were part of the company didn't know about the secret drop could buy it now. So then I don't know.
They chose not to communicate, mint a new token, and airdrop it to whatever wallets they determined fit. This decision came from Eddie and Logan, and I had no part in it. 11,250 wallets before the airdrop, under 11,000 after. They chose to blacklist and ban over 200 wallets. Now, who those wallets are, I have no idea. But he continues, quote, as a founder like Logan, Jeff, Eddie, and Danny, I had purchased a large quantity of tokens. 5+ of my wallets had been blacklisted from the original team's buys.
They probably
now,
didn't.
I don't know why he had 5+ wallets there, but okay. He says 80+ billion Zoo tokens were confiscated from me to date without any communication. So, wow. That's why Crypto King accused Logan of stealing from him or scamming. It's because he was frozen out of a lot of his wallets. And then we get to the text you guys all know. He says, Logan, you stole $40 million. You're a scammer. You're a con artist, all that stuff. You betrayed your community. The reality is you aren't that guy. And Logan responds, oh, Jake, trust me, bro. I am that guy. Q, in the arms of an angel. And look, I mean, what do we make of this? Well, I don't know. I can't root for either of these guys. Because it sounds like Logan stabbed him in the back. But it sounds like Crypto King may have stabbed him in the back in the first place, right? Because it does appear like he bought tokens that maybe everyone didn't know about. So I'm really not a fan of anyone in this situation. And by the way, this whole thing was structured so misleadingly from the beginning. I have to talk to you a bit about it because you might think that these tokens were the only tokens they had, but it's not even true. In the distribution section of Zoo's white paper, they say there's 2 trillion tokens, and a quarter of that are allocated to development, marketing, and founders. Those aren't even the tokens we're talking about right now.
Oh, so they didn't get
claim
those.
that those tokens
extra.
were locked up for 6 months, and then afterwards, 10% was unlocked every month. And if that's true, there would be no reason for these funds to be blacklisted, right? Why would you blacklist something that would be locked up? And the answer is because, well, the founders had more than one set of tokens. Not only did they supposedly have these
crypto token, claims he was never given
founder tokens that were locked up and couldn't be sold. These stealth launch tokens were different from that. It's like a whole different thing. And the tokens that they bought, that all of these guys bought, they could sell at basically any time because they weren't locked up, which is a massive problem. And this fact was explicitly laid out in their meeting notes with only one rule. They say, quote, no selling until $200 million market cap, and don't impact the market more than 3%, and not impact the market more than 10% in a day. And by the way, this is basically conspiracy to manipulate a market. You know, they're literally having insider rules for how to sell, but we're going to look past that, right? Because these rules eventually kind of changed. A text from Logan's manager, Jeff Levin, came to the group chat, Zoo Founders, saying, guys, new and absolute rules. No one is to sell or transfer any Zoo. Logan's going to make the call when we can make moves. And Logan replies, your tokens do not leave your wallet. This is a game. Now, that all sounds well and good. Don't sell your tokens, but the reality was, I mean, they're just kind of trusting each other because these tokens that they're talking about, they're unlocked. They're not locked up, and they could sell it at any time. And I guess the question on my mind is that why Crypto King's tokens were blacklisted? Because they thought he would sell? Or maybe it's just the fact they found out he bought and they didn't know about all those tokens. It's honestly hard to say without knowing more evidence. And this is where we're going to jump into the blockchain. Now, I've tracked the wallets of the entire team and identified the largest seller of Zoo in the team. And it wasn't Jeff.
Oh.
It wasn't Danny. It wasn't even Logan.
Who was that girl?
It was Crypto King. Crypto King sold, by my calculations, millions of dollars. And I know what you're thinking, how's that possible, right? I thought his tokens were blacklisted the day of the official launch. How could he sell that much? Well, the answer is that not all of his tokens were blacklisted. He had even more tokens behind the scenes. And what's worse, the CryptoZoo team actually gave him back a lot of his blacklisted tokens, which I guess you can see as a good thing or a bad thing because he then turned around and sold those tokens, right? And from my blockchain analysis across his blacklisted tokens he got back and the tokens that he had squirreled away the whole time, he ended up making $6 million.
Damn.
He did this by sending out tokens from these larger wallets to dozens of smaller wallets, selling it. and then sending the money to final cash out wallets. So I used those final wallets to calculate the amount he made. Now, I know, look, it's a lot to accuse someone of selling $6 million in a project that doesn't even work. It's a giant scam. So I wanted to give him a chance to defend himself. So I got on a call with Crypto King, and here's what he said when I finally revealed that I knew he had sold.
It's going to change this whole fucking story. Yeah, I'll go on the record for you, and yes, I'm going to show you the text message that say we can sell at these ascending market caps. And literally, I'm going to 100%. It sounds like your biggest issue with me is that I sold. And if that's your biggest issue with me, that's the truth.
Wow, that is a big admission. Selling tokens for a project that you're an advisor on when the project has never been delivered. Although Crypto King insists that it wasn't $6 million and he wasn't trying to rug a project. In fact, really, he might be the one who got screwed over in all of this.
Like, I didn't sell $6 million worth. That's going to be other wallets, but that's probably not going to be able to be me being able to be proven, except for them saying, can you send BNB to all these different wallets for me? Which that I'll be able to show you that I was giving BNB to the whole team. I'll also be able to show you that I was a 5% holder of the Zoo tokens that I was promised to be given over the 3-month period, was never given. I can also show you that I was frozen out and was never given the 15 billion tokens back that I paid for in cash. So
Okay.
I'll show you all of those things on the record, and then you can also say that I did sell, which is also true.
Yep.
Well, as long as it's accompanied with he was a founder that was supposed to be given 5% of the project and was never given the token or paid, worked for almost a year on the project. As long as that goes in with it, then at least that tells my side of the story so people understand that it's not like I was trying to rug a project. It's like I put $250,000 into a project plus 6 months of time, and the founder never did anything he said he was going to do, and then hired a bunch of devs that didn't do what they were going to do. And every time I gave advice, the advice was I was told to fuck off. So it can be that story, or it can be he sold all this amount and he got in early. Well, yeah, that's like 1% of it though.
Incredible. He sounds like he views himself as the victim, or at least like he got screwed too, which just has to win the gold medal for me for mental gymnastics, because he literally had put $200,000 into this and he says he made millions of dollars. Even if you take him at his word that he didn't make the full 6 million, he admits to me later that it might be a pretty close guess. He tells me via text, quote, "I don't care if you tell people I sold a few million and leave it at that." Well, okay, $6 million, a few million dollars, it's millions of dollars, right?
True.
Millions of dollars when you only put in $200,000 into a project that's never been delivered, doesn't work, scammed people out of their money. How is he saying he's the one who's in the wrong? Well, in his view, what he did was not wrong. It might have been arguably unethical, but it wasn't illegal. And what Logan did, well, that was illegal.
You can say the timing was bad and it was inappropriate to sell, but the reality is I bought tokens open market and sold them open market. So there was nothing illegal about that. Ethically, arguable. The rest that Logan did to me was ethically wrong and illegal.
Now, what do I think of all this finger pointing? Well, I think it's pretty wild to try to make yourself look like the lesser of two evils when you made millions of dollars and investors lost millions. I just do. Now, at the same time, I want to be fair to Crypto King. He's not the only one who sold here. But I also have to say, not everyone from the founders did sell. For example, Jeff, Logan's manager, to my knowledge, never sold.
Ooh.
Neither did Logan Paul, which was a huge surprise. All their wallets that I tracked, held on to their tokens, which is good. And to their credit for a game that doesn't work. But you know who did sell? Eddie Ibanez.
Of course.
The guy who didn't pay the initial devs, the supposed MIT orphan. Yeah.
So he made
From what
money?
I can see, his initial wallet got a ton of Zoo, sent it to a bunch of smaller wallets, and then sold off, kind of like Crypto King. And for my calculations, he made about $1.7 million. Now, I have to tell you that like Jake, I tried to confront him and give him the opportunity to defend himself, but he never replied to my emails or my phone calls, and we're just gonna have to leave it there. But we're not done with the money just yet, because we still need to talk about the eggs. Remember, we talked about how they profited from Zoocoin, but they also made millions from eggs. According to their own internal meeting notes, they plan to make about $3 million selling these eggs for 0.1 ETH a piece. And that's not far from what I calculated they actually did make, which was about $2.5 million. In the meeting notes, they say they're gonna clear expenses and then do payouts. But payout who? They don't say. And these expenses are referencing an earlier note suggesting Eddie and Logan had both spent $300,000 each, which I'll say is not $1 million, but okay, we'll give it to them, right? So they got paid back their $600,000, but where does the rest of the money go? Well, on the Ethereum side, there's one payout for $364,000 to one wallet and another $1 million to another. Both are Coinbase addresses, so we don't know who exactly that is, but clearly someone on the team made a lot of money from these NFT egg sales that do not work. And on the Binance Smart Chain side, where they also made money selling eggs, the zoo that was spent was supposed to be set aside for 50% to be burned, which they did, but the other 50% was supposed to be allocated for wildlife charities and crypto zoo development. Neither seems to have happened because all the money is in a wallet that the team still controls. So there are open questions about, where that money is going to go and where the Ethereum money went. Did it go to Jake? Did it go to Logan? Did it go to Jeff? Did it go to Eddie? We don't know. But what I know for sure is that no one was innocent, although there's certainly shades of guilt you can argue about because, of course, not everyone did sell. You could look at that as the most important thing. Logan Paul didn't sell. Jeff, Logan's manager, didn't sell. But does that make them innocent? Well, no, I don't think so because they never built the game they promised people. Logan Paul specifically got millions of dollars spent on this game on the promise of the technology that he never built, that his team never built. And he never addressed the failure except to blame his developers who weren't paid. And you could say he promised to work backwards to fix it, but then never did. But at the same time, it's clearly not just Logan's fault either because there are major team issues, right? You've got Eddie selling millions of dollars of zoo and then allegedly not paying developers. You've got Jeff, who was warned about Eddie, who kept him on the team anyways. And then after they fired Eddie, seems to also have failed to pay developers on time. And then you've got Crypto King himself, who sold the most, but claims he was the guy who was scammed, which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It's just like Avengers Assemble for the worst possible team you can imagine to build a crypto gang. And so, unsurprisingly, it turns out a lot of these guys backstabbed each other. And so, finding a way to wrap this up was difficult because it's hard to assign exact proportions of blame. Because if you focus on any one person, you kind of miss why this project failed. CryptoZoo, at the end of the day, did not fail because the price went too low. CryptoZoo failed because they never built a functioning game that they promised. Really, the number one problem, even bigger than people selling millions of dollars of tokens, was that they never paid the developers on time, as boring as that is. And as a result, the investors not only got rugged for millions of dollars, which is a problem, but they just didn't get the core thing they had bought from the beginning, which was not a crypto project, but something different.
I'm excited to launch my game.
You keep using and you just did it again. You keep using a word there. Game.
You didn't get the game they paid for.
Project. It's a game.
It's a game. It's a really fun game that makes you money.
That's it. That to me is the biggest scam in all of this. Yes, it's a huge problem. People stole millions of dollars, but it's a symptom of the larger issue, which is people didn't actually care about the game or this, whatever you want to call it. They just cared about the money. And this is ultimately what happens when you have an influencer LARPing as a businessman. It's what happens when you have a liar LARPing as a developer. And it's what happens when you have a shady crypto guru LARPing as a crypto king. You end up with a mess. And in my personal opinion, a fraud as well. And now that this thing blew up in their faces, these four seem to be dodging accountability faster than SBF dodges calls with me. Because I have reached out to everyone involved. I've tried to get all of their statements on things. So far, no one has taken accountability or offered to refund the victims at all. They're all hiding, pretending these victims don't even exist. But they do exist. And throughout my investigations, they've been the heartbeat of this whole thing. So I decided to close this investigations in a bit of a unique way. Rather than me deciding who's to blame or me deciding what you should think, I want to give them the last word.
Everyone's to blame. Logan, in the sense of his poor management, is his project. He still made these promises to people.
I think everyone it is to blame, including Logan Paul, of course, because he was the one in charge of this, and he was responsible for all of this mess.
Everybody has a big part and a massive cross to bear.
Each one of them scammed the project in their own way, and then off to the sunset they went.
It was his job to check the team to make sure that everyone is working together, to make sure that he is giving the funds of the people that put it into his project under his name to people that he actually trusts. So in my opinion, if the team failed to perform, that's Logan Paul to blame.
The community is destroyed. People is angry. They just want their money back. They just want their normal lives back.
Can't they sue him?
Reimburse those loyal fans that they have, or try to rebuild the project, actually deliver on the project for those who are still holding their eggs, like I am, or for those holding the zoo coins. So maybe they could just deliver what they promised, and that would give some redemption to this fiasco.
He's not said a word. That's as bad, or almost as bad, as taking the money. It's the not coming out and just being a man about it.
At least we deserve to know what was happening behind the scenes while we were waiting for almost a year and a half. The fact that we're hearing this information not from Logan Paul but from pretty much an investigator, it really says a lot.
What did this loss mean to me? It meant a lot. Not just personally, because I lost quite a lot of money. My kid and also my wife were invested. It was like telling a kid that Santa doesn't exist or something like that, because she really believed in all that game. She really believed in Logan Paul. Kids look up to that kind of people. So it was some kind of broken dream.
My mum was invested. My sister was also invested. So, I mean, my daughter even had a couple of the eggs and animals, which the loss for them hurts the most, because obviously it's just not nice to see.
For somebody to win, somebody has to lose. That's a gamble you take, whether you get into crypto or not. I got in knowing that I could lose, which is fine. That's on me. But I thought if I lost something, it would be because I sold at the wrong time, or the game didn't earn as much as I thought it would, and therefore my things weren't as valuable. But you never go into it thinking it's not something that they're going to just sell out from underneath you, because they could make so much more if they actually delivered on what they said.
That is true.
Even if they delivered on close to what they said. And that's the thing, is you don't think they're going to rug you because there was so much money in a game wallet.
Ultimately, at the end, the way I see it is it was fraud. Logan could have put out the red flags, told people to stop investing more into it, because people were investing into this project until the very last minute, where the ship was still just sinking down the ocean, and people were still putting their cash into it.
If I was on a call with Logan Paul, I would ask him, where did his redemption arc go? I think he was on such a good streak going about his YouTube career and boxing as well. And it's sad to see that because of money, once again, we have degraded down to stealing from his viewers.
What would I say to Logan Paul and his team if I could? Well, actually, I could, because I have an NFT from other project that gives me the right to see Logan Paul, to meet and greet with him. And I will actually use that right to tell him this story again, show him this video in front of me, and see how he reacts when he sees that my family, my whole family and my kid are affected with this situation, because I think that's not human.
You would think that Logan would have told his fellow followers, his loyal fans, that, hey guys, back off, red flag, things are there's turbulence in the water. No, not a single word, nothing whatsoever.
To market products at children and knowing full well that his team is made up of people that he believes are shady characters. Yeah, he still goes on Forbes interviews and says the game is great for kids. It's gonna be amazing.
Who loves it most? The kids. Their kids love it.
Our developers' kids, all of them, cannot stop playing the game.
I think that is inhumane, the way that side of it's been marketed.
Knowing what's happened since, knowing that all of the people that were there from the beginning, like all of the guys that I'd speak to on a daily basis, that we've all just got nothing now. Ideally, I just want to say I'll see you in court.
Oh, they cancel. When Logan and Jeff were asked for comments on the story, they replied, "Dear Stephen, CoffeeZilla, There are certain legal issues around the company and its product that Rude is at. Oh yeah, I heard about this. Like since they're gonna be suing him most likely, he can't really talk about it, or lawyers advise you not to talk about it, so then you don't get into legal trouble, or say something that could affect the case in a bad way, I guess. So I could see them not talking about this. It is our hope that these will be resolved shortly for at the point we will reach out. Will they ever reach out though? I don't think they will. But damn, bro, really a whole detective, bro. That's crazy. Am I supposed to try to decode that? Or is that a shout out to everybody? Also, I was gonna say something. What was I gonna say? I forgot what. Also, yeah, I was gonna say I didn't hear about this coin until like right now. Definitely not somebody you want on your bad side. How does he even find out this information? I feel that's true. So it's very, very fast. So I was gonna say, yeah, like true is kind of hard to find out information like this, but then also if you really want to find it out, all you gotta do is dig. Like all you gotta do is actually like do research and you'll find it. It might not be the easiest, but you'll find it. It's the person that our society makes people like Logan Paul famous. It can be if you think they're better than you. It's not that it makes them famous. It's that they have the opportunity and means and a bit of luck to become famous. What's really depressing is what he's done with his fame and how he keeps taking advantage. Yeah, yeah. This makes sense. Yeah, that right there hits the nail on the spot. Yeah, and judging by how things went, I wouldn't be surprised if Jake was the one that leaked all for this to try and get ahead before it became obvious how shady his actions were. How else would Coffee get a transcript of private group convo that only 4 people were in? It was obvious one of the 4 people in the group and the only person we see being spoken directly to Coffee is Jake and Jeffy. There's no way in hell it was Jeff. Maybe. Or a former assistant who is CCED and everything. 100K, how hard can you fill out math? It's 2 million subscribers, not 100. He's smart as hell. He might have a team helping him. I doubt he's doing this all by himself, all alone sitting in the basement between 4 walls. Yeah, he probably does. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't work with authority. People are obviously gonna tip you off about stuff and just package. Getting 200K is the hardest. Actually, getting started off is hard. Like right now, I'm actually not pulling anything, but I feel like as soon as I get like core members, then I'll be good. But getting them core members is the hard part. So yeah, like, subscribe, see you guys later. Hope you have a good day or night. And bye.